As I invite Godfrey from CNBC to proceed with the plenary. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, I'm hoping everyone can hear me. Yes, it appears to be working. Your Excellencies, thank you again for coming through and spending time with your colleagues, if I may say, and of course your partners who are crucial in tackling the question that is before us. And if I may remind you again of the format, I've been tasked to make sure that we can get through all of you to make a point. One, a commitment to this summit about what you're going to do to advance the issue of human capital development on the African continent. And then secondly, I've also been tasked to make sure that I'm able to get 3 recommendations that I can take away from this session as well, that I share with our organizers. And to be able to achieve all of that, I'm giving you 2 things. Number one, first of all, to address the general topic that we're talking about here today. And then secondly, to talk to very specifically to the points that have been given to me for me to ask you. So, reminding you again, our session is on ensuring that the issue that's been brought up, the issue of education, are we ready to create young Africans that are productive and that are able to participate as much as they can in our economies? Your Excellency, President Samia, Suluhu, Hassan, if I can start with you, your thoughts on this gathering that you have brought about, because clearly you identified something that needs to be done. Thank you.
Nakushukuru moderator. Kwanza nishukuru kualikwa kwenye panel hii, lakini pia nishukuru kwa swali, na nikijibu swali lako kwamba we ready to invest in education, niseme ndio, yes, we are ready to invest in education. Na kama nilivyosema kwenye hotuba yangu kwamba ni kuwekeza kwenye education peke yake au kwenye elimu ndio kutafanya tujenge society, vijana ambao watakuwa wanajielewa na kujua nini wanapaswa kufanya kwenye nchi zao na hatimaye bara lao. Labda niseme uzoefu wetu Tanzania, tuko tayari kuwekeza kwenye education na tumeanza na early child education au elimu ya awali, ambapo elimu ya awali zamani ilikuwa ni kama sehemu tu ambazo labda wachimba madini, wakulima, wanaweka tu vibanda na kufanya watoto wao wasome pale. Lakini kama serikali tumeona hiyo opportunity, na sasa tumejenga shule za kisasa kabisa ambazo watoto wale sasa wanasoma. Na ni watoto wa kuanzia miaka 2.5 mpaka miaka 5. Sababu miaka 6 anaanza kuingia primary education. Lakini pia tumetumia fedha nyingi kuwekeza kwenye shule za msingi. Kama nilivyosema, population ya Tanzania ni kubwa na inakuwa kwa kasi. Kwa hiyo kila mwaka tunatumia fedha nyingi kuwekeza kwenye kujenga shule zaidi za msingi, lakini vile vile za sekondari. Lakini pia katika kuwekeza kwenye education tuna level ya sekondari ambayo inaanza kwenye form 1 mpaka form 6, na kwenyewe kwa sababu elimu ya msingi inatoa watoto wengi, lazima sekondari nayo itapokea wengi. Lakini pia tumewekeza kwenye vyuo vikuu. Tanzania ina vyuo vikuu kama 52, 30 ni proper vyuo vikuu na vilivyobaki ni vyuo vya kati au colleges ambazo zinafundisha mambo tofauti, hasa mambo ya teknolojia. Lakini katika kuwekeza education tunaangalia pia sasa sifa za walimu. Kwanza wingi wa walimu. Tunaangalia teachers students ratio, kusema ukweli bado tuko nyuma. Tunajitahidi kuajiri, lakini bado kutokana na wingi wa watoto bado tunapambana. Lakini tunaangalia pia uwezo na sifa za walimu katika level tofauti. Wale wanaosomesha early child education, wanaosomesha primary na wanaosomesha sekondari, kuwajenga katika maeneo yao, vivyo hivyo vyuo vikuu. Lakini tunaangalia pia mazingira ya elimu, nao kwenyewe nako kuna cost implication. Pesa nyingi inatumika kwenye kujenga mazingira ya elimu ili mwanafunzi awe na raha na mwalimu awe na raha kusomesha. Kubwa tunaloliangalia mbali ya ujenzi wa madarasa, lakini usafi wa mazingira, water and sanitation katika maeneo ya shule. Kwa muda mrefu nyuma, watoto wa kike ambao walishafika umri wa kuvunja ungo kuwa wakubwa walikuwa wanakimbia shule kwa sababu mazingira hayakuwa mazuri kwa wao wakati wa haja zao kujisafisha na mambo mengine. Lakini sasa tunajenga vyoo vizuri, tunapeleka maji maeneo ya shule, tumeweka mazingira mazuri kiasi ambacho wasichana wakati wote wapo shuleni. Lakini jengine katika kuwekeza kwenye elimu, nilisema mapema, kwanza watoto wetu kuanzia elimu ya awali, early child education, mpaka secondary school, form 6 before entering university, hawa wote wanakwenda elimu bila malipo, hawalipi. Lakini wanapokwenda university na vyuo vya kati, tuna mfuko maalum wa maendeleo ya elimu ambao wanafunzi hawa wanakopeshwa na wanakwenda kujisomesha. Watakapopata ajira ndipo wanaporudisha hizo fedha. Lakini katika bajeti iliyopita ambayo tunaitekeleza mwaka huu, tumeondosha pia ada kwenye vyuo vya ufundi na mafunzo ya amali, ili wanafunzi zaidi waingie wasome elimu ya ufundi, tuwajenge na uwezo wa kufanya kazi, uwezo wa kuajirika, ili waweze kwenda kwenye masoko ya ajira. Asante sana.
Thank you, Your Excellency. As a follow-up question, I recognize that I may cover some of the things that you've already covered. That's okay, you can skip them. But in addition to what you have said and your commitment around girls, I wanted to focus a little more on what policy actions you are going to be taking to create an environment where youth can flourish, where that child, that girl, that boy does not feel the need to cross that dangerous sea into Europe and decides to practice their entrepreneurship here, like we heard from the former, from the Deputy Prime Minister.
Asante sana. Ni kweli kwamba katika kuwafanya watoto wetu wapende kukaa nyumbani, kama nilivyosema, la kwanza tunawaingiza kwenye vocational training and vocational studies, mafunzo ya amali na mafunzo ya ujuzi, ili wawe na skills. Na tunaangalia mafunzo ya amali, mafunzo ya ujuzi kwa sasa hivi, kwa maendeleo tulionayo katika wimbi la mapinduzi ya 4 ya viwanda, watoto wetu wanahitaji nini. Kwa maana hiyo tunajenga vocational schools kule waliko. Kwa mfano sasa hivi tuna mradi wa kujenga vocational schools 64 katika kila wilaya ya nchi hii. Kutakuwa na vocational schools. Lakini pia tuna folk development schools ambazo hizi zinapokea wanafunzi ambao wamedrop darasa la 7 au form 4, na wanakuwa wanafundishwa elimu mbalimbali ya ujuzi, skills development, ili waweze kupitia mikopo niliyosema hapa inayotolewa na halmashauri zao, waweze kuchukua mikopo na kuweza kujiajiri wenyewe. Lakini kubwa zaidi tunalolifanya ni rural electrification. Tunapeleka umeme vijiji vyote ili wanafunzi waweze kusoma vizuri kwanza, waweze kufanya practical zao kwenye vocational training, lakini pia waweze kufungua shughuli zao za kujiajiri kule waliko, badala ya kurash kuja mijini au kutaka kuingia tamaa kwenda Ulaya kutafuta green pastures. Tunajitahidi kuprovide kila kinachokuwa lazima ili wabakie hapa.
Boats capsizing in the Mediterranean and be a thing of the past. Your Excellency, thank you very much for your thoughts. Thank you. I'd like to move on now and invite His Excellency Dr. Julius, President, Republic of Sierra Leone. Again, Your Excellency, the format is the same. Your initial thoughts on this summit and what we need to do as a continent to ensure that, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the Lions on the Move? McKinsey Institute, Lions on the Move, a report that they released, I think, in 2014, if I am not mistaken, which spelled a rosy picture of Africa that was going to be growing and creating jobs for its people. And then I remember another big report, UNICEF, put together again, Generation 2030, I think, report that was called, again, spelling out this huge opportunity for us to realize as Africans. But warning, if we do not change our trajectory in terms of investment in our children, we would be going nowhere. And I'm saying to you, sir, as you address us today, we are in danger of having a disaster and not the dividend. But let me get your thoughts.
Thank you very much. My government is a human capital development government. That was how I termed it even before I started my campaign, because we realized from the in-depth studies that we did before even I embarked on my political journey, that illiteracy, high illiteracy, was a serious hindrance to development in Sierra Leone. So I identified human capital development, and I've taken it through the first term of office. For me, it's not a matter of whether we are ready or not. The need is upon us. And for certain things, you don't have to be ready to embark on them. It is existential if we have to succeed in this 21st century, if we have to move from being at the receiving end of the fourth industrial revolution after having been at the receiving end of all the other revolutions, then we must pre-position Africa by making sure that we invest adequately and consistently in our most precious resource that we have, which is the human capital of Africa. We'll be wasting time to do any other thing in this 21st century, and especially with the looming fourth industrial revolution. We cannot survive, we cannot thrive if we do not position ourselves ahead of the curve. And so, what have I done? I have put aside 22% of discretionary budget of my country, and that goes for education. And I want to assure you that there is efficiency in the use of that, because it's not just the quantum, but also how it is used. We have made sure that we are paying for all, because one of the most difficult aspects is actually access to education. A lot of people are poor. You may say it's $10, but some people cannot even afford that. And so what have we done? We have made universal access to education for every child in Sierra Leone for the past 5 years. And that is still ongoing. But besides universal access, there is another problem, and a huge number of obstacles that make it impossible for certain people. They will start, but they will not continue. So now we are not only paying for kids to go to school, we are also buying core textbooks which are needed in schools. In some of the schools, they do not even have teaching and learning materials. So we have bought that for 12,000 schools in the whole of Sierra Leone. So we provide core textbooks, we provide teaching and learning materials for all the schools that are government schools or government-assisted schools. There is another problem of malnutrition or hunger, which affects certain homes because of their level of poverty. Now we are providing school meals for over 600,000 kids in Sierra Leone. This has not only good outcomes for education or learning, but also and health reasons. And it is also playing into retention and completion. So what we are doing is a comprehensive approach to actually making sure that they don't just have access, but they can stay in school, complete school. And as a result of that, in the whole of West Africa, we are rated as first for completion for girls in West Africa. And we also have a free tuition for girls who do STEM subjects. As a result of that policy, for nearly 200 years history of our university, for the first time, women applied for engineering more than any other since the start of Fulbe College in Sierra Leone. And since I challenged the women folk of Sierra Leone, they have consistently led in all transition exams, including the latest which came out last week. 11 of the best performing students were 8 out of 11 of the best performing students were actually girls. So that mentality that women cannot do or do not have the same mental faculty as we do is beginning to go away. We realized that even menstruation was a problem, because when they are not properly attired, they feel shy to go to school. So what do? My wife, using a particular campaign, has been providing sanitary pads free of charge for all school-going children in Sierra Leone. And I talk about menstruation without any fear or hesitation. For a lot of African homes, especially in Sierra Leone, I don't know for here, men don't talk about menstruation. And I say to them, it's just a biological action. And therefore, we should feel free, even as men, dads, to talk to our children so that they feel comfortable and provide them with the necessary support. So every year, the First Lady goes around, supplies to all the schools, and now government has come in, and we are getting support from other non-governmental agencies and also development agencies, because they have seen the utility. When we don't do that, some girls can lose up to 60, 70 days in an academic year from our own calculation. So that is helping out quite a lot. The other thing was, they can study and study and study, but because of poverty, come the transition exam, maybe to go to secondary school, there is a fee, always. They cannot afford it, they drop out. So what we have done is, we have 3 transition exams, the MPSC, the Beke, and the WAS. We are paying for all of those exam fees. We are paying all the exam fees for all of the kids in Sierra Leone. Even when they do their final transition to go to university, there is always a fee for that. And some of the kids will not get their results for a very long time because they have poor parents. What we have done is, we are providing the money for them to be able to get their results so that they don't have to wait. So access is expensive and very important. But there are a series of other obstacles that can actually nullify the effect of having paid for access if you don't address them. And that is what we have tried to do, a comprehensive approach to providing education. It is the best resource we have. And I must add here that as we talk about immigration to other countries so that they seek greener pastures, I think the youth budget can be a blessing, but we have to invest in education. And when I talk about education, we are talking about the education as a whole, talking about technical, vocational training, numeracy, and literacy, basic literacy. If we do that for our people, we can now use the youth budget. It can become an advantage and not a cause. But if we don't do that, it is going to become a bomb, because we have too many youths in Africa.
Absolutely, 100%, Your Excellency. Thank you very much for those opening remarks. Please, help me to thank him. So I think for me, what is really eye-opening is the fact that you, Your Excellencies, are breaking down what has traditionally been a taboo subject amongst African societies, talking about menstruation, talking about what those girl children go through, and not talking about what it means for them to be equal participants as a result of that being a taboo subject. Thank you for breaking it down. We totally appreciate that. But I wanted you to add a little more. You spoke about the importance of access. But how do we ensure that that access is equitable? Because you spoke yourself about the disadvantage of the girl child. And we also know that children who come from poor families are at a disadvantage. I come from such a background. Until one of us, my brother, was educated, we were all destined to stay in the rural areas. We broke the poverty cycle because we got access and it was equitable. How do we ensure that on a bigger scale across the country, across the continent?
Access to education.
Equitable.
Equitable.
Yeah.
We have first what we call radical inclusion. Radical inclusion. It's a policy by our government. And that means that irrespective of your situation, if you are a child in Sierra Leone, you should go to school. Wherever you are, whether you are disabled, in whatever state, no political colors come into play, everybody should go to school. This is radical inclusion. Before this time, there was a ban against pregnant girls going to school in Sierra Leone. And I was in favor of that, that is because of my old mindset. But when I realized that it is secondary victimization of these little kids who become pregnant going to school in their formative years, and then you take them out of school and punish them, and they become a liability to themselves, their community, and so on and so forth, I thought that was too much. And I knew I was wrong. So I made a U-turn. Now, girls who become pregnant, we attend on to the point that they can no longer stay in school. And once they give birth, we make sure they go back to school. And interestingly, they have been performing extremely well because they realize they have made the mistakes. And most times, the mistakes are done with adults, people who are supposed to know better. But we blame the child, we blame somebody in 13, 14, 15 years old, and we want her to carry that blame or sin for the rest of our life. I think that is... So one of the things we have done is to make sure that whether you are in the village, you can access education. And we are building the necessary digital infrastructure. We have trained more teachers for quality, and also to make sure that they can go as fast as they can to be able to give the quality of education. Because what we have to do in Africa also is not just education. It must be fit for purpose education. Education that we meet the needs of the future, a digital economy. That is what we are entering. So the things we have done as when we were in school, which we are forcing our children to do, are no longer good for them. So we must look at the future and make sure that our children are acquiring the skills that will make them relevant for the future, not what we did. And that is what most of us as parents do. I did law, I want you to do law. I did medicine, you have to do medicine. No. I think you have to discuss with them. And what have we done? The youth who are going out, 33% of my cabinet are young people. When I say young people, they are youth. 33% of them are also women. I've also passed an act which is, we call the GIWI Act, which makes sure that 30% of all parliamentarians must be women. 30% of all ministers should be women. And I just appointed my cabinet, and I made sure I complied to that because I passed that bill. And in the corporate world and in other fields of endeavor, we are making sure that nothing less than 30% for now, because this is the very first time we are taking this bold action. Yeah. They are women, right across Sierra Leone. That is the beginning of making sure that the women feel part of us and they can contribute. After all, their population, they are more than 50% of our population.
100%.
So it's like trying to do boxing with one hand behind you.
Yeah.
Even a lazy man like me can fight any boxer with one hand behind him.
Absolutely. You're going to lose. You can't do it with one hand. Your Excellency, thank you very much for those thoughts. Thank you. Thank you. And it's interesting. It sounds like, again, you were listening to the youth that were attending this seminar that I told you about. One of the things they said, you know, children speak sometimes a little too forcefully. So they said, we demand that there must be a quota for young people in every cabinet in Africa. And I see that you have already started that work on your front. Thank you very much. Let's please allow me to invite Her Excellency Mariam Chabi Talata, Vice President, Republic of Benin. Again, ma'am, I'd like to invite you to share your thoughts on the summit and the work that we are doing, or that we need to do. I think that's the more important part, what we really need to do, before I invite you to answer my very specific question for your country. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Je commence par présenter mes remerciements à Madame la Présidente de la République unie de Tanzanie pour l'accueil, l'hospitalité. Je présente mes hommages aux chefs d'État et de gouvernement ici présents. Je salue les vice-présidents et les premiers ministres ici présents. Le thème qui nous unit ici est le suivant. Sommes-nous vraiment prêts à investir dans le capital humain? Moi, je viens d'un petit pays. Géographiquement parlant, c'est la République du Bénin. Nous sommes tellement petits que pour nous rendre visibles, nous nous appuyons sur le géant qui est à côté de nous. Chaque fois que je rencontre quelqu'un qui ne connaît pas bien la région ouest-africaine, qu'il me demande d'où je viens, je suis obligée de dire, je viens d'un pays qui est à côté du Nigeria. Vous voyez? Et ce pays, tout petit géographiquement parlant, rien que ce n'est que 112 000 km². Ce pays a de grandes ambitions. C'est un pays qui, depuis 2016, rêve de se révéler au monde. Mais comment se révéler au monde quand on n'a que 112 000 km²? Quand on n'a pas de ressources minières, comme le Congo, comme certains États qui rendent visible ou qui forcent la visibilité. Nous, au niveau de notre pays, le Bénin, nous ne sommes pas seulement prêts à investir dans le capital humain, nous sommes condamnés à investir dans ce capital pour nous rendre visibles. Parce qu'autrement, nous disparaissons. Et comment nous investissons? Comment nous faisons des efforts pour qu'au niveau de ce capital humain, notre pays soit visible? Nous avons été colonisés par les Français. Et au niveau de notre pays, le Bénin, c'est l'enseignement général qui l'emporte sur l'enseignement technique et professionnel. Cela veut dire quoi? Que pendant 6 décennies, au niveau de notre pays, nos jeunes ont été formés pour de longues études qui ne donnent pas droit à l'emploi. Et notre pays, le Bénin, pour aller de l'avant depuis 2016, a fait le choix de réformer son système éducatif, de faire en sorte que les tendances s'inversent. Par le passé, 70% de notre population scolaire se retrouvait dans l'enseignement secondaire général. nous travaillons cette fois-ci à inverser les tendances, à faire en sorte que 70% se retrouvent dans l'enseignement technique et professionnel. Mais en faisant quoi? En prenant un certain nombre de mesures. Les Béninois sont connus pour leur engouement pour les études, leur engouement pour les longues études, parce qu'on croit que c'est ça qui fait l'homme. Quand tu ne vas pas très très loin dans les études, tu n'es pas considéré. Alors que maintenant, nous avons constaté qu'on peut aller très loin dans les études et rester chômeur toute la vie. Nous travaillons à y mettre un terme, en faisant en sorte qu'il y ait de la qualité dans l'enseignement que l'on donne. C'est la raison pour laquelle nos premières actions en 2016 ont été d'arrêter les créations anarchiques d'écoles et de collèges. Les villages réclament des écoles, même s'il n'y a que peu de gens pour y aller. Les villes réclament des collèges. Depuis 2016, nous avons suspendu cet élan-là, parce que ça ne mène nulle part. Parce que pendant que l'on réclame la construction d'écoles, la création d'écoles, nous manquons d'enseignants qualifiés. Nous manquons d'enseignants qualifiés. Nous n'acceptons plus qu'on ouvre d'écoles que lorsqu'on a la garantie que ces écoles seront animées par des enseignants de qualité. S'il n'y a pas d'enseignants de qualité, pas d'ouverture d'école. C'est la politique que nous mettons en œuvre depuis 2016. Et nous avons procédé à quoi? À l'évaluation systématique des enseignants qui animent, qui donnent les cours dans nos écoles et nos établissements du secondaire. Le problème de la qualité du capital humain dépend souvent des enseignements qu'on donne à ceux que l'on forme. Chaque élève est à l'image de son enseignant. Ça n'a pas été facile. La lutte pour la qualité n'a pas été facile. L'évaluation n'a pas été facilement acceptée par nos enseignants. Il y en a même qui ont résisté, qui ont refusé de se faire évaluer, qui ont été radiés parce qu'ils ont refusé de se faire évaluer. Si c'est le prix à payer, il fallait le payer. Tout récemment, il y a eu des pourparlers qui ont permis donc de réinsérer certains. Mais il fallait évaluer chaque enseignant. Et ceux qui n'ont pas les compétences requises au niveau des enseignants ont été soumis à des formations. Ils ont subi des formations pour être à même de dispenser des cours de qualité. J'ai dit que nous autres, nous sommes condamnés à investir sur le capital humain. Pourquoi? Parce que tous les 25 ans, notre population double. Si elle double, nous devons tout faire pour qu'elle soit de qualité. Notre ambition, qui est celle de nous révéler au monde, ne peut pas voir le jour si nous n'avons pas un personnel qualifié. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle nous avons, au niveau de notre pays, travaillé à créer un grand nombre de lycées techniques, un grand nombre de centres de formation professionnelle. Nous avons envoyé en formation ceux qui vont animer ces centres de formation, de façon à ce qu'à leur retour, ils puissent intégrer ces écoles-là. Nous avons, au niveau de notre pays, conscience du fait que un adulte équilibré demain, c'est un adulte qui a eu une vie saine pendant son enfance. Et notre gouvernement investit énormément dans les cantines scolaires. L'année dernière, j'ai représenté le chef de l'État, le président Patrice Talon, en Italie. Parce que notre pays, le Bénin, a été désigné champion mondial de l'alimentation scolaire. 75% de nos écoles ont une cantine scolaire.
That's a great deal.
Notre ambition, c'est de faire en sorte que tous les villages, toutes les villes plutôt, aient des cantines. Aujourd'hui, nous avons couvert la plupart de nos villages en cantine scolaire. Il ne nous reste que les villes. Voilà.
That's great work. That's great work. That's great work, Your Excellency. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very interesting how you have dealt with the issue of teachers. I live in South Africa, and we have a very strong trade union, and the issue around trying to make sure teachers are competent and they are assessed and they do their job consistently. It's certainly been a very thorny one. Great lesson. Hopefully they can take that lesson as well. Before I let you go, one more quick comment, very quickly if you can. Have you had to deal with the problem of higher dropout rates for school children, especially amongst girls? I want to know how you have dealt with that one. Dropout rates amongst the children that you get into school. You explained that you have a problem of overcapacity, but I imagine even in that overcapacity, you still have other children that don't come to school when they are supposed to come to school.
S'agissant de l'abandon, de la déperdition scolaire, surtout la déperdition des filles, nous mettons en œuvre une gamme variée d'activités. Nous savons que certaines filles abandonnent les écoles, la scolarité, parce qu'elles n'arrivent pas à trouver les conditions adéquates d'hygiène au niveau de l'école. Depuis 2020, la première dame de notre pays, à travers la Fondation Claudine Talon, met en œuvre un programme de distribution de couches aux filles pour limiter les taux d'abandon. Nous sommes aidés par l'UNICEF qui, depuis des décennies, accompagne notre gouvernement en mettant à la disposition de nos filles des kits scolaires composés de livres, de manuels, de cahiers et d'un petit budget pour les charges diverses de l'école. Nous sommes également appuyés tout récemment par la Banque mondiale qui nous aide à mettre à la disposition des filles scolarisées du primaire et du secondaire un fonds. 30 000 filles sont impactées par ce fonds. Les filles du primaire reçoivent par jour 350 francs CFA et les filles du secondaire 450 francs CFA pour les accompagner dans leur scolarité. Ce sont là les actions que nous menons au niveau donc des populations scolaires féminines pour limiter les taux de déperdition. Mais ce n'est pas tout. Depuis 1990 au Bénin, les filles du primaire et du secondaire ne payent pas la scolarité. La scolarité est totalement gratuite dans notre pays.
Just girls? Just girls?
Oui, pour
Just
les
the
filles.
girls?
Oui, pour le moment.
Okay,
on
boys
va
pay,
atteindre les
girls
hommes
don't pay.
après. Oui,
Fantastic.
voilà. Depuis 90.
Positive discrimination. Positive discrimination. Your Excellency, thank you very much for your contribution. May I invite His Excellency Cleopas Dlamini, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Eswatini. Again, Your Excellency, it's your opening thoughts. If you're able to bunch them together tightly and we get the message across, and then I'll come to you with my very specific question, especially made for you.
Special meant for me?
Yes, sir. It's coming.
Thank you. Let me take this opportunity to thank the government of the United Republic of Tanzania, and in particular to thank President Samia Hassan for the excellent arrangement which they've put into this for those who have arrived just today, I have to say they missed a lot because of what we saw at the dinner yesterday. I see President Chakwera is regretting. We had magicians literally dancing, I don't know what to say, standing on their head, on top of another head. It was marvelous. But now coming to the subject matter before us here, I think it has already been said that it's not a question of whether you want to invest in education or whether you are ready. You have to invest in education, especially if you are in African state. If you look at the proportion of youth relative to the entire population, you can say that if you did anything other than invest in education, you'd be playing with fire. Today we learned that there's a difference between the number of years that you spend at school and the actual education that you get. You can have 10 years of schooling, but 6 years of effective education. And that was quite enlightening. I've always thought about it, but I've always known that rural schools perform poorly compared to urban schools. And I mean, and this is because of the effective years of education. Rural schools are short of, they have certain disadvantages. They may not have computers, they may not have libraries and laboratories, basics like electricity and water, which we take for granted in towns, but they are short in rural areas. You could talk about the teacher-student ratio, but if you don't have these facilities, it means nothing. The figures will just be deceiving you. In Eswatini, we have made very major strides in as far as investment in education is concerned. In our National Development Plan, education, that's 2023-27, education is one of the major pillars of this plan. We want to foster social and human capital development and nurture skills base able to adopt innovative technology. A lot has been said about the fact that today it is technology, not just education that is matters. Eswatini was amongst the first countries to be a member of the World Bank Human Capital Project Initiative. Human capital is one of two high-level objectives of our plan. In our country partnership program with the World Bank, we have put a lot of emphasis on education, especially primary education. In Eswatini, since 2010, primary education is free. The only thing that is lacking is that it is not compulsory. And I think I can say now that that's a gap lacking. Because it is free, we should make it compulsory, that every child should go to school. But at the moment, it is not. So the enrollment rate at primary school is in excess of 95% because it is free. However, as you advance to the higher level, there's a tendency to drop because people have seen primary education being free. There's a tendency to think that it's probably not an expense that people must face. But we are progressing towards making sure that high school is also made free. The quality of education itself, as I've already said, is a major factor in making sure that what we develop from, what we gain from that education is in fact effective. So what we have done now with we have created tertiary institutions, post-tertiary institutions such as TVETs and other colleges that teach skills-based kind of learning. Because what we see is that when people drop out, maybe after secondary school, they tend not to have the right skills for the job. So we have training that we get from different countries that help us with this, and we teach these skills to the schools so that the children who leave school and are not yet ready for work, they can be trained even illiterate people, motor mechanics, electricity, and all sorts of things like that.
Sure.
So this is what we are trying to motivate and encourage. But we will continue to invest again in even at university level. We are introducing now medicines and other schools like that, and so that people can have practical skills that can help in the future. Our budget is the highest proportion of the budget, if you take in terms of overall expenditure, goes to education and health. Sure. Those are the sectors that take a higher proportion of our budget. Infrastructure, of course, is not neglected, physical infrastructure, but this is the main area of focus. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you. I think the issue around skills is an important one. I can tell you that we have a small newsroom in our team in Johannesburg, and the kids that are coming through from the universities, we struggle to get them to quickly integrate and become active participants in generating news. So there needs to be something done to connect the TVET colleges and the actual work environment. It's a continuing challenge across the continent, there's no doubt about that. But I wanted to ask you to talk to a small little tabunyana subject, since we are touching taboos today. How do we work with culture to ensure that while we're respecting our cultural norms, we are also at the same time ensuring that every child who's entering this new age of technology and other things does so from a position of strength? I ask the question because traditionally our cultures have, as we have all been hearing here, looked down upon the girl child.
Thank you. I think in our environment we are seeing less and less of that discrimination, especially at school-going level. I don't know, I cannot say the same as people progress in life, in parliament, in promotion, but at the level at school, that discrimination is probably not as explicit as it was in the past.
Let me be more explicit, Your Excellency. I was trying to say that are girls exposed to the same skill set opportunities as the boys? I.e., can that girl who dreams of being an aeronautical engineer be able to do so at the same time that a boy child is able to do so? Because we have seen a situation where girls are not getting some of these opportunities.
I suspect they lack role models. It's because she does not have a role model. She has the perception that it is a man's skill, and that is something that needs to be addressed. I think a role model, even in the family, if you are a mechanic or a doctor and the mother is a nurse, the tendency is the boy child will want to be a doctor. So I think this is the attitude that we need to address almost directly. But in terms of financing at school, the opportunities should be the same.
I totally agree with Your Excellency. Thank you. Thank you. So we need to normalize it, that a girl child gets as much chance as the boy child. We need to make it an everyday thing. Thank you for your contribution. Let me move on. We have two excellencies remaining that we need to get to and get their views. May I invite His Excellency Hamza Abdi Bare, Prime Minister, Federal Republic of Somalia. Okay. Before you start, Your Excellency, I wanted to tell you that I personally have adopted Somalia as my country in terms of our coverage, because I know where Somalia is coming from. 1991, I was in Nairobi covering that war. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, brother. Esteemed heads of states and governments, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to be amongst you today here as we discussed a question that is important to our future of our continent. Are we ready to invest in the education and productivity of African youth? The answer I have been contemplating is we have no choice but to be ready. In the case of Somalia, although Somalia has established the right to education for all, millions of Somali children and youth lack of foundational skills in reading. Tackling learning poverty in Somalia is a complex challenge that is made worse by a number of issues. I consider the next 5 obstacles to be the most critical. First, I want to talk about some challenges that we are facing, then maybe later on I come to the solutions that we are committed to undertake to fix these problems in our capacity. First obstacle is the pervasive conflict, insecurity, and the prolonged instability. Somalia has, as you know all, gone through some very challenging times in the past few decades. The ensuing instability has disturbed the functioning of schools and uprooted students and teachers. However, extremist groups such as Shabab significantly contribute to the learning poverty in Somalia. They frequently attack schools and education infrastructure. They target educational facilities, teachers, and students as part of their broader campaign to instill fear and exert control over people. Secondly is the limited infrastructure and resources. Infrastructure is insufficient school buildings, limited access to basic facilities such as clean water, and absence of proper transportation for girls and the children in remote areas, and shortages in learning materials are all major bottlenecks. Third is a difficult in attracting and retaining quality teachers. Due to inadequate salaries and limited professional opportunities, teaching has become one of the least favorite professions in Somalia. If someone, for example, has a unique capacity or competent or unique skill, they would prefer to work in the UN or an international organizations where they would be paid 10 times the salary of teachers at the very least. Fourth, limited access to foundational education. Statistics indicate that only half of the children in Somalia are enrolled in primary school. This disparity is even worse in rural areas where only a third of children are enrolled in primary school. Socioeconomic factors such as poverty constitute the biggest factors stopping families from sending their children to school. And fifth, and perhaps the most impactful factor, is climate change. And climate change is the key factor in the disruption of educational infrastructure. It is also the leading cause of forced displacement and immigration, reduced livelihood opportunities, poor health and sanitation, and increased water and food insecurity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and for introducing, I think, a subject matter that is all around us, that all of us, wherever we are, which part of the continent we're coming from, is certainly one that we talk about every single day. By the way, the issue around no one wanting to be in teaching isn't unique to you. Across the continent, teaching is no longer the revered profession it used to be, because teachers are not, may I say, well paid. It's not paying anymore. And people who are passionate about teaching have been forced to leave the profession and move on to others. It's something that we should reflect on and find a way of glorifying so we can get our teachers back into the profession. Your Excellency, I wanted to follow up one more question for you, and this is around the challenge of tackling learning poverty. I think we heard the figures. They are terrible figures. We are all to blame on the African continent. I wanted to know what you are doing to tackle that learning poverty.
Thank you very much. As you all may be aware, the government of Somalia has undertaken a comprehensive campaign this past year to eradicate extremist elements across the country, to bring the peace first. And you can only imagine the strain these activities would place on our national spending. However, despite the fiscal strains and limited resource, we have demonstrated our commitment to expanding access to education and tackling learning poverty by taking specific policy actions and investing in the solutions to address the bottlenecks and challenges facing the educational ecosystem in Somalia. Firstly, we began by investing in skilled teachers. This past year, we have competitively recruited 3,000 teachers, increasing the number of teachers in the government payroll by more than 300%. Secondly, we aimed to address the challenge of access to quality education by allocating resources to build or rehabilitate schools. Third, we aimed to address socioeconomic disparity by providing school guarantees and ensuring that no child is left behind. The small investment we are making today will allow education to be the catalyst for lasting peace, prosperity, and unity in Somalia. With our collective, as Africans, with our collective efforts, we can foster enabling environment for Africa's youth to unleash the untapped potential of our rich continent. I would like to conclude and to express Somalia's deep commitment to investing in its people, and I am pleased to announce that Somalia is joining the Human Capital Project Country Network as the 89th member. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for anticipating my last question as well. You have already declared the commitment. I'm coming back to Your Excellencies to come for my one commitment from you as we close. If I can come to you, Prime Minister Dlamini, your one commitment to us here listening today about what you're doing to advance our goal of ensuring that we realize the demographic dividend. Just one.
I think the main thing that we need to do is to invest improve the quality rather than the quantity of education. I just mentioned a few things there, laboratories, libraries in the schools, and of course the basics, electricity and all. If we can just invest in those infrastructural things, maybe we can improve the quality and not the quantity of education.
You're committing to improving the quality of education. Thank you, Your Excellency. Madam Talata? Your Excellency, Talata, your one commitment to the summit in terms of what you're going to do to push so that we're able to realize the demographic dividend. It looks like it still works, yes.
Au niveau de notre pays, le Bénin, je l'ai dit tantôt, notre objectif, c'est de nous rendre visibles et d'inverser les tendances. Nos jeunes ont coutume de traverser des pays, de traverser des océans pour aller chercher les meilleures formations, les meilleurs emplois à l'extérieur. Nous voulons que désormais ce mouvement s'inverse, comme le cas observé tout récemment entre l'Espagne et le Maroc. J'ai suivi un documentaire dans lequel il est dit que de plus en plus de jeunes Espagnols traversent la mer pour aller chercher donc de l'emploi au Maroc. Nous voulons faire de notre pays un pôle d'excellence en ce qui concerne la qualité, en créant une cité internationale de l'innovation et du savoir qui offre un cadre d'accueil à des institutions de formation africaines et internationales.
Yeah.
C'est notre objectif.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you. If I can come to you, that's Your Excellency President Bayo, Sierra Leone.
Thank you very much. I think my commitment would be to make sure that the youth are in the front seat of everything that we do about them. I have started, and I will make sure that that is entrenched and becomes the norm.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Sorry. Thank you very much for your commitment to the youth. We appreciate it. Your Excellency, President Hassan.
Kwa upande wa Tanzania tuna commit kuendelea kuwekeza kwa watoto na vijana ili kujenga taifa lililo bora, na commitment yetu haitaishia ndani ya taifa lakini hata kwenye program zetu za kikanda, regional programs. Tutahakikisha tunawekeza ili tusome kwa wengine na wengine wa nchi jirani wasome kwetu kwa maendeleo ya bara letu. Asante sana.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Excellency. I'd like to apologize to His Excellency.
Can I say the last word?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the last word is to the fellow African heads of state and government.
Yes.
There was a philosopher who said, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance.
Sure.
So ignorance is what has landed us here.
Yeah.
So let's now invest in education.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you. I would like to acknowledge His Excellency Demeke Mekonnen, Deputy Prime Minister, Federal Republic, Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. First, sorry, sir, for forgetting about you. I was getting so excited with the stories I was hearing. I was coming to the commitments and I wanted to get the commitments so I could have my lunch, but my apologies, sir. Can I invite you to reflect on the summit themes, and then we'll come to the very specific issue we'd like to discuss with you about Ethiopia. I'm hoping it's working. Yeah. It's alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Godfrey. First, I would like to express my profound appreciation to the government of the United Republic of Tanzania for hosting this summit successfully. And I also thank the World Bank for organizing this timely summit in collaboration with the government of Tanzania. Perhaps in my country, during the last 2 years, during the challenging times, the World Bank was with us. So you really deserve to be recognized and appreciated on such critical interventions and support. It is, to me, it is high time to invest in people. I really appreciate the motto. It is high time and very timely for us. Human capital development is the entry point to sustain development and to address inclusive agenda as a whole in Africa. As a rising continent, we have to focus and we have to invest on human development areas. Today, Ethiopia, human capital development is our areas of focus agenda, and we try to align this agenda with our 10 years development plan and cascaded to different implementing bodies in this regard. At the few pillar agendas on us. The issue of access. Today we are managing about 30 million students from pre-primary to tertiary education program. 30 million. From this, we're also 5.2 million students are benefiting from school feeding programs, especially in drought-affected areas, in remote and in the pastoralist areas, and in other pocket areas. The school feeding program is really very important issue for kids, especially for girls, for access and even for quality issues. The second one is the quality issue. To ensure the quality issue, we developed a package, a school development program, leadership program, curriculum development, and other necessary inputs around that one. This is really very important for successful learning outcomes and the like. The third one is about inclusive. Education should be inclusive in terms of gender, in terms of area, in terms of special needs and the like. This is very critical and important one, and we're working on that. And the other one is free. Education should be free, especially for primary and secondary schools. In our country, in Ethiopia today, from primary to secondary education, nearly 28 million students. School service is free at all. This is really very challenging business and responsibility. Education is capital intensive. So to address and to sustain this education needs a serious commitment and stakeholders mobilization around this agenda. The other is affordability. In tertiary education program, nearly 80% of the cost covered by government, around 10% covered by students. That is a reasonable and affordable cost-sharing mechanism at tertiary education level. Generally, when you talk about education, the learning outcome has to be prudent, and that should address the need of the economy, the need of the industry, and the relevance issue is very critical. Based on this, we're trying to assure quality and sustainable relevance programs across the country. My final point on this part is when you talk about human capital development, health, education, water, agriculture, all pro-poor sectors are very important. Our approach in terms of budget and leadership is we're focusing on poverty-oriented sectors. For example, 60% of our budget allocated to pro-poor sectors, to education, to health, to water, agriculture, to ensure nutrition, food security programs, and others. And again, in education, 22% of our annual budget allocated to education, and nearly 14% of our budget allocated to health program. Our plan in the upcoming times, especially by 2030, to increase this 22% to 24%, and now, from our GDP, 4% of our budget goes to education. This is very challenging and needs a serious effort to sustain this commitment. Generally, we're here, but with a serious challenge and serious crisis, and to sustain that and to keep the momentum, human development issue is a survival and existential issue to Africa and to my country, Ethiopia.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I hear the clear political commitment to ensuring that education is prioritized. But how are you doing it in this environment? Whereas we have been talking about everywhere, fiscal space is limited because the priorities that are competing for the money that you have are so many. How does education survive in that environment and get more so we do more?
Thank you. As I said it before, it is capital intensive and very challenging. But all education actors has to march together towards this agenda. Development partners, government, the community at the grassroots levels, private sectors, and other players together. Here, partners, development partners also. And then, here government, the political leaders has to play. As His Excellency the President said it in the previous panel, we have to play as a role model, the leaders, and again, mobilize the community and other partners. And then, we're trying to expand our revenue capacity to increase and to address towards these priority areas. But the major players here, the communities. The schools has to be owned at the grassroots level by the local community, the parents and other players together. All these efforts will reach to this trajectory to address this problem.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Would you have one final commitment for us? Yes? One final commitment that you commit to achieving?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really, the issue of deliverables is very critical. Here, my commitment, number one, political commitment. Leaders has to be committed. We are committed for this. Second, allocating the proper resource and mobilizing all actors. And this program has to be owned by the communities and creating conducive environment to development partners and other actors. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience, and thank you, Your Excellencies, for your patience, for your time, for your insights. Thank you again, and we resume the program. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Excellencies, a bigger round of applause to our distinguished presidents. Can we stand up as they take their seats? And let's continue to clap their hands. Kindly be seated. Thank you very much. So we are now going, before we break for lunch, we are going to have photos taken. This is a very high-level event to miss a photo moment. So I am going to announce the groups as follows. The first picture will be taken by the presidents. The 7 presidents who are present here will take the first picture. The second picture will be taken, led by the president of Zanzibar and the vice presidents, deputy prime ministers, the prime ministers that are present here will take the second picture. This will also include the Minister of Finance, who is also representing the President of the Union of Comoros and the chairs of the AU, the World Bank, Madam Victoria Kwaka and Madam Mamta Murthy will also be on this picture, as well as Mama Graka Machel, who is the Deputy Chair of the Elders. Thank you. Heads of delegation that are present here will take the third picture, to be followed by international and regional cooperation bodies representatives who are here. Honorable ministers will take the 5th picture, and the final picture will be for the Secretariat. May I now have the honor to invite back to the stage Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania. May I also kindly, you'll use these stairs to come up and those stairs to go down. May I also invite His Excellency Philippe Jacinto Nyusi, President, Republic of Mozambique. May I invite His Excellency Andy Rajoelina, President, Republic of Madagascar. May I invite Dr. Lazarus Mackenzie, His Excellency, the President, Republic of Malawi. May I also invite His Excellency Carlos Manuel Villanova, President, Democratic Republic. And last but not least, Dr. Julius Madabio, President, Republic of Sierra Leone. May I kindly, Your Excellencies, request you to please stand up? Thank you. The next pictures, you will all be seated. And if you can come together, yes, like that. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Kindly, you may sit now. As I invite to the stage His Excellency Dr. Hussein Ali Mwinyi. Kindly come to the stage. Your Excellency, please remain on the stage. Yes. 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 To be followed by His Excellency Hussein Albigabi Akoy Agani, Vice President, Republic of South Sudan. Welcome to the stage. May I also invite Her Excellency Mariam Chabi Talata, Vice President, Republic of Benin, to kindly come to the stage. May I also invite Your Excellency Jessica Rose Epel Alupo, Vice President, Republic of Uganda. Thank you so much. May I invite to the stage. May I invite to the stage Your Excellency Mutale Nalumango, Vice President, Republic of Zambia. Thank you very much. May I invite to the stage Cleopas Dlamini, Prime Minister, Kingdom of Eswatini. Thank you very much. May I invite to the stage Hamza Abdi Bare, Prime Minister, Federal Republic of Somalia. Welcome to the stage. May I invite to the stage Your Excellency Gervais Ndirakobuka, Prime Minister, Republic of Burundi. Please welcome to the stage. May I invite to the stage His Excellency, Your Excellency Demeke Mekonnen, Deputy Prime Minister, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. Thank you for coming. May I invite to the stage Your Excellency Olavo Avelino Garcia Correira, Deputy Prime Minister, Republic of Cape Verde. May I also invite to the stage Your Excellency Abdurrahman Abdulazak, Chair, Nigeria Governors Forum. Thank you. May I also invite to the stage Honorable Mohamed Chanfiu, Minister of Finance, representing the President of the Union of Comoros. Thank you so much, who is also the Chair of the AU. Madam Victoria from the World Bank, as well as Dr. Mamta Murthy from the World Bank. Thank you so much. Mama Graka Machel, we are honored to also have you on this picture. May I request heads of delegation to be set for the next picture after this picture. Karibu Mama. Asante sana, please use the stairs on your right hand. The presidents, please remain seated. The members at the back, kindly use the stairs on the right hand to exit the stage. As I invite through your right hand, the heads of delegation, kindly you will stand behind the presidents. Algeria, Angola, Botswana, Comoros, Djibouti, DR Congo, Egypt, Gabon, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Libya, Namibia, Nigeria, Rwanda, Seychelles, South Africa, Togo, Tunisia, and Zimbabwe. As the heads of delegation come to the stage, Liberia. As the heads of delegation mount the stage, may I request the international and regional cooperation to please be prepared to be followed by all the ministers present here. Thank you very much. Let's exit the stage as I invite all those representing regional and international organizations present to please come to the stage. The next picture will be for all the ministers present. But for now, international and regional bodies that are present here. Secretariat will take the final picture, which will be after the ministers. So for now, regional and international cooperation bodies that are represented. Karibu. May I also request Excellencies, ambassadors and high commissioners present to please join on this picture. Excellency ambassadors and high commissioners present to kindly join on this picture. The next picture will be of all the ministers present, and the final picture will be Secretariat. Can we give a room for the ambassadors and high commissioners to kindly pass? Thank you. So much. Excellencies, ambassadors and high commissioners, kindly for the next pictures. Honorable ministers, you will take the next picture. As they come, I would like to pass them an important announcement that the presidents, the VVIPs, will be led by Chief of Protocol for lunch, but this will also include foreign ministers and heads of delegation. Other ministers and diplomatic corps will have lunch on the 3rd floor, Kilimanjaro Hall. The rest of us, we shall take our lunch at the tent, at the marquees outside. Can we, as on my left, can we come through this side? As I allow the ministers now, request the ministers to come through to the stage through the stairs and stand at the back. Please, if you can move slightly this side. Honorable ministers, there's more space on this side, kindly. Thank you very much. And the final picture is the Secretariat. The Secretariat. Excellencies, the next picture is taken by those who organized this summit. And as they come, may I request the Secretariat to please come to the stage for the final picture. And as you come to the stage, I would like to read this special message. I would like to acknowledge the exceptional work of the many people who contributed to making today such a successful and impactful event. The joint teams of officials from the government of Tanzania and the World Bank have been working tirelessly over the past months. Please join me in recognizing their hard work, their teamwork, and their exceptional efforts. I would also like to recognize the generous support of our sponsors for this event, including the Gates Foundation, the MasterCard Foundation, the Early Learning Partnership, and the Government of Korea, and the Global Financing Facility. Thank you all. Can we put our hands together for this team that has made this event a great success? Thank you very much. Can we put our hands together once again for the committee for the wonderful work? Thank you very much. Excellencies, may I now request you to proceed for lunch through this door. Karibuni sana, enjoy your lunch. Ministers will go to the third floor, permanent secretaries and other VIPs to the third floor, Kilimanjaro Hall, and the rest of us to the marquee. Thank you so much. Lunch break is 1 hour, so please let's resume at 3:15, 3:15. Thank you.